Hi, I'm Charlie, and this is Hellhounds Run. And tonight's story is one of my absolute favorites called I Met a Sleep Paralysis Demon. And if you like this, don't forget to smash the subscribe button and follow us on our different platforms. I hope you enjoy. I Met a Sleep Paralysis Demon. For those of you who may have missed my first couple of entries, my name's Dave, and I'm the bartender at Mr. Johnson's Hellhound Bar. It's been a few weeks since Hunter left me with more questions than answers. Not much has changed, really. The patrons have continued their flaming dart competitions, so now I have to replace the dartboards every few days. Last night, Ryan and Short George got into an argument. It is kind of odd that Short George threw an axe at the dartboard, but hey, I don't ask questions. Short George is a weird one anyway. You can't even see his face for all the beard, and I swear I hear metal clanking every time he moves. But I can barely see him over the bar, so who knows really? I just pour the drinks and clean up the messes. It's safer that way. The other day, the owner of the bar was waiting on me when I came in. He told me there had been complaints from the cleaning staff after closing. I told him I was tired of finding weapons pinned to my bar like psychotic love notes. The last one had been another knife pinning the mop to the closet door. How was I to know Marcus had done, well, things in the corner of the bar? I mean, who does that? On the bright side, the girl from the Church of the Goldfish agreed to come by the bar sometime soon. I was really hoping she would. I opened the bar and did my normal routine stocking and replacing everything that was needed for tonight's round of flaming debauchery. As I finished refilling the bin of paper umbrellas, the door opened and in walked a small figure wearing a purple and pink puffer jacket and jeans with the hood up. Considering how crazy my last few afternoon patrons had been, I was glad there weren't tentacles or omens of imminent doom as he entered. I watched him out of the corner of my eye as he came to the bar and had to do a little hop to get seated on the bar stool. He wasn't short, just vertically challenged. What'll it be? I asked. I was truly hoping this was just a run-of-the-mill dude down on his luck and wanting a quiet drink. I wasn't sure I could handle another incident. Rum. Any rum. Just rum, the stranger said as he pulled back his hood. I started to reach for the bottle, then stopped. His skin was black. Not like African American. Black as tar. His eyes had red irises and his ears were slightly pointed. He grinned at me as I stood there with my mouth hanging open, and I saw his teeth were all sharp points. Yeah, you've never seen anyone like me. Now pour, please, he said. His voice had a high pitch to it. Not squeaky, but close. Taking a deep breath, I asked the question burning in my mind. You don't know my name, do you? I know, not what you were expecting, right? His answer would be the deciding factor in whether I ran out of the bar screaming and never came back. How would I know your name, he asked. I've never been here before. I relaxed with an audible sigh. Okay, so this was weird, but he wasn't a member of the Super Scary Weirdos Club like the last few. Shrugging, I pulled down a bottle of rum and poured him 2 fingers in a glass. I'm sorry, things have been weird around here lately. I'm Dave, and if you need anything else, please let me know. I intended to slide him his drink and get back to whatever other chores needed doing around the bar. Before I could take a step, the little guy burst out with a squeaky. Do you know the worst thing about being a sleep paralysis demon? Asleep what? I asked in confusion. Come on, gerbils, help me out here, I thought to myself. I'm Todd, and I'm a sleep paralysis demon, the little guy said. He sat staring at the bar for a moment. I hate my job, he said in frustration and took a sip of his drink. I couldn't help but feel some sympathy for the guy. He looked so lost and sad. I mean, yeah, he looked ferocious like he'd eat my liver with some beans, but he radiated such despair and hopelessness. Plus, he didn't give off an air of being willing to kill me on a whim, which I really appreciated. You sound like you could use a willing ear, I said. I don't know why I suddenly wanted to help the guy. I guess because I kind of felt the same way sometimes, especially lately. The only positive to my day was visiting that strange little church and seeing her really. You wouldn't believe me if I told you, the little guy said dejectedly. Try me, I said laughing, after everything I'd seen lately. Like I said, I'm a sleep paralysis demon and I hate my job. He started to perk up a little. I mean, I never get any sleep for one thing. Up all night doing my job, then double shifts for the people who sleep during the day. Then just when I'm getting to sleep, some telemarketer calls about my car warranty. Do I look like I drive a car, Dave? He asked. I stumbled. I had no idea what to say. I need a warning label that says, warning, says stupid things when threatened. I just wasn't making much progress handling this one. You know, I've seen real evil, Dave, but those people, Actually, I've always wondered if that wasn't a separate system of the Demonic Business Bureau. It's evil enough to be a pilot program from one of the bigwigs. The what? I asked. That's it. I swear I'm evicting the gerbils. They're bloody useless these days. Must be on strike. Or maybe scared stupid like I stayed these days. The DBB. Are you new here, man? They control a lot of the local business ventures, he said. Is that who you work for? I asked. Me? No, I wish. They get benefits, vacations, even incentives. I get rooms full of flatulent bachelors. Do you know what it's like to squat on a guy's headboard for hours while he lets them rip in his sleep over and over? I swear one guy must have had a toxic waste dump in his guts. Another guy woke up swearing he'd never eat kielbasa again. There is no gas mask in any world that can help with that. And do you know the worst part? He asked. There's worse than that? I asked. I was a little mesmerized, really. My clothes reek of farts when I go home. I mean, reek. Like it's not bad enough to smell it there. I have to bring it home with me, he said. I stood there not knowing what to say. In the silence, we heard snoring from one of the booths along the wall. I looked over, startled. How had Marcus gotten in here? I would swear he wasn't there when I opened. Todd looked over at the booth and back at me. Would you like a little proof, Dave? He asked. His whole face lit up with an evil grin, and for a minute his whole personality changed. He was a new person, a brighter, happier person, if overly malevolent in appearance. I smiled back. I didn't want anything bad to happen to Marcus, but, well, he made every day miserable. Don't hurt him, I said. He's a miserable old drunk, but still. Don't worry, Dave, I won't hurt him. We don't actually hurt people, just scare them a little. Todd hopped off his bar stool and walked over to the booth. He climbed right up over the back of the booth and perched there. After a few seconds, he held his hand over Marcus's head. There was a small flash and Todd was flung back into the booth behind him. Marcus farted and grunted loudly before rolling over on his side. What the hell was that? Todd yelled. What the hell is he? Todd demanded, pointing at Marcus. He's an old drunk who sneaks in here, I said, confused. This situation was just getting stranger. I wanted a sign over my head reading confused. It could be pink and purple, neon, and blink. With my luck, it would be half burned out, but hey. Blowing on his still sizzling palm, Todd stumbled back to the bar. I've been doing this for 3,000 years, without a vacation, mind you, and never had that happen. Whatever you think he is, Dave, you're very wrong, Todd said as he hopped back into the bar stool and shaking his head. Pour me another, will you? He asked. I poured him another 2 fingers and he sipped it slowly, relishing the alcohol as it entered his system. See, it's stuff like that, he said disgustedly. Can't a simple guy make a living? I just shook my head. I was sure this would make sense in Bizarro World, but I was absolutely lost in the situation. Most of our patrons at least looked moderately normal. Well, except for Christo, but I'm sure all the slime was just a skin condition. But this little guy was just different. I had somehow stepped to the left again and ended up doing the interdimensional hokey pokey. Before Todd could notice my fugue, we both heard a ringing. It was a cell phone. Todd and I both froze. A look of sheer horror passed over his face. Todd reached into his pocket and slowly drew out a small purple cell phone. His movements had a nightmarish quality, like time had slowed and the air was made of molasses. Flipping open the phone, Todd answered it. Hello, Todd squeaked into the tiny phone. From my perspective, Todd just got smaller and smaller, huddling into his puffer jacket. An interrupted stream of yes, sir, and of course, sir, was all he was able to mumble into the phone. Finally, he closed it dejectedly and stood looking at it. Poor dude was all huddled up like a kicked puppy. Hey, man, you okay? I asked after a few seconds. That was my boss, Mr. Williams, Todd said, then released a long, hissing sigh of frustration. I noticed the small pink tongue was forked as it flickered out over his mouth and back in. If you don't want to talk about it, that's okay, I said, and poured him more rum. It was obvious he needed something. I could barely see him standing at the bar. He had shrunk so much. My boss is a real asshole, Todd said, and sucked the rum down. He started to perk up a little. I mean, okay, he's a demon, but that's no reason to treat us like crap, is it? Todd asked. We should be treated with respect like anyone else, is what I say. Todd was obviously letting the alcohol affect him. But aren't demons supposed to be kind of assholeish, I asked. Would it be a shock to you to know I was confused? I mean, even the gerbils were holding up question mark signs. No, Todd slurred. Demons might just be the best people, he continued. My poor, blighted mother was the kindest evil entity you could have ever asked to meet, really. Todd flung his left arm up in a grand gesture. Always ready to flay a human or lead a small pack of wolves to a village was my mom, Todd said proudly. But Mr. Williams, he continued, all he cares about is numbers. How many people did I paralyze, and do I have receipts for my expense account? We're demons, Dave, demons. And he's worried about data tables and spreadsheets, Todd continued. He was obviously warming to his topic. What happened to the good old days of pestilence and despair? Todd demanded. What happened to sacrifices and dancing naked with witches around fires? Todd suddenly looked at me and squinted. Are there any witches around here, Dave? He asked slushily. Witches, I asked. Yes, I know my mother dropped me on the head a lot. I pour drinks and mop spills. Witty conversation is not what I was hired for. Yes, witches, Dave, Todd said with a leer and a grin. Some of those witches are sexy as hell, even if most of them wouldn't give my kind the time of day. He suddenly looked dejected again. Why wouldn't they? I asked. I was honestly interested. I mean, if I was going to the Rubber Room Palace, I might as well know the answer, right? Most witches are actually good, Dave, he said. It's only a few that actually mess with demons like me. But a demon can dream, can he? He asked and tried to wink at me. The surreal nature of a demon attempting to wink and leer at me was just too much. I just had to like the little guy. Okay, so he might be a sleep paralysis demon, but he seemed a good sort and he was funny. Everyone has bad things about them. That doesn't make them bad people, right? I mean, right? As I pondered this philosophical question, we both heard a groan and a shuffle as Marcus sat up slowly from the booth. The smell of stale alcohol and staler urine wafted toward us. Todd and I made eye contact for a second, frozen in a kind of abject terror. Before I could say anything, Todd had thrown 2 silver gold coins on the bar and hopped to the floor from his bar stool. Thanks for everything, Dave, he squeaked in a rush as he sprinted towards the door and almost threw it. Marcus obviously terrified him, but why? He was just an old drunk. I looked at the coins on the bar and then back at Marcus. He was grinning beatifically. Looking at his feet, I inwardly screamed. He had pissed himself again and left a puddle in the floor. Looking back up at his face, I saw a glint of a glow about his eyes before they rolled back up in his head and he slumped backwards into the booth. Bastard didn't even have the decency to hit his head on the way down either. Shrugging in bewilderment, I turned to the broom closet to get a mop. As I opened the closet, I heard a soft pop. Marcus was gone. Just gone. Vanished into thin air. What the hell? He had just passed back out. Where could he have vanished to? Grabbing the mop, I went to the booth. He wasn't under it either. The only sign he had been there was the smell in the puddle. I shook my head and started mopping. This place just gets weirder by the day. This is Charlie, and I hope you've enjoyed this reading of I Met a Sleep Paralysis Demon. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe, like, and follow. And check out all our other accounts on Hellhounds Run at Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Patreon. Thanks for joining me this evening. I hope you enjoyed.